As a lifeguard at a bustling water park, I've encountered my fair share of difficult guests, but one incident truly tested my limits. Recently promoted to head lifeguard, I took on new responsibilities with enthusiasm, unaware that one family would make my day unforgettable in the worst way possible. The morning began routinely. I managed head lifeguard duties, activating water systems, organizing staff rotations, and ensuring the park was ready for its 9 a.m. opening. Everything ran smoothly until mid-morning when a family arrived: a mother, father, young daughter, and 3 teenage boys, roughly 17 or 18 years old. The boys quickly became a problem. Complaints about their disruptive behavior poured in throughout the day. They darted between park areas, evading direct confrontation, but reports from guests and staff kept mounting. By 4 p.m. during the second shift, a sharp double whistle, an emergency signal, interrupted my work in the first aid station. I rushed over to find one of my lifeguards, a good friend, being berated by an furious mother. "Let's call her Karen." I approached and asked, "Is there something I can assist with?" Karen immediately unleashed a tirade. "Yes, this idiot banned my son and his friends from this area for no reason." Before she could continue, I interjected, "Please, let's keep the language respectful." With an exaggerated huff, Karen pressed on, claiming the ban was unjust. Recognizing the troublesome boys from earlier reports, I told my lifeguard, "Focus on your zone. I'll take care of this." Turning to Karen, I said, "Ma'am, to be clear, your son and his friends aren't banned from just the slide." She tried to cut in, but I held up my hand. "They're banned from the entire park." That set her off. She shouted, demanded reasons, and hurled insults my way. Once she calmed enough to listen, she asked, "Why?" "They've done nothing wrong." I responded firmly, "Actually, they've violated nearly every rule we have and caused chaos all day." Skeptical, she demanded details. What could they possibly have done? "Well," I explained, "they've gone down slides incorrectly, jumped off mid-ride, nearly collided with other guests while tossing basketballs in a prohibited game of dodgeball, and put themselves, my staff, and others at risk. Their actions could have led to serious injuries like concussions or fractures." Karen, still defiant, argued, "We paid for a 2-night stay." I shot back, now irritated. "That's not my concern. You, your husband, and your daughter can stay and enjoy the park. Your boys, however, must leave. They can either be taken home or stay in your room for the night." Stunned, Karen tried to regain control, but I cut her off. "Ma'am, this isn't up for discussion. You need to comply. If they're not gone in 10 minutes, they'll be escorted out." Frozen for a moment, she stormed off toward the hot tub, clearly ignoring my deadline. Realizing she wouldn't act, I radioed security. "Head lifeguard to security, code yellow for guest removal." Security promptly located the boys, escorted them to their parents, and then to their room. I'll admit I might have sounded stern, but Karen's confrontational attitude left me no choice. Her earlier insult toward my friend and colleague sealed her fate on my zero-tolerance list. Her antics delayed my chemical checks, and I was done with the situation. Shutting her down felt incredibly satisfying. She thought she could intimidate her way out of consequences, but she was mistaken. She got exactly what she deserved, and I have no regrets. Story 2. Stepdad takes my mom and his kids on vacation, leaving me alone. Then everything unravels. I'm a 16-year-old high school student. 2 years ago, my mom married Eddie, my 42-year-old stepdad. My parents were never married. I was the result of a brief post-college fling they expected to fizzle out. When my mom got pregnant, she chose to keep me, raising me alongside my dad, who shares custody. I split my time evenly between their homes, switching monthly. I love both my parents and appreciate their sacrifices, like staying in the same city to make my transitions easier, even at the cost of career opportunities. My mom also turned down several suitors to prioritize raising me. Eddie, however, made it clear he's not the ideal stepfather. My mom explained her sacrifices to justify my accepting Eddie. I struggled with her logic. She could have chosen differently, like letting my dad raise me alone. But I wanted her happiness, so I tried to embrace Eddie. He's not cruel, but he plainly dislikes me, and he doesn't hide it. I don't know why a 42-year-old would have an issue with a 16-year-old, but Eddie does. Despite my efforts to be polite, he ignores me completely, acting as if I don't exist. It started after an early visit when he suddenly stopped speaking to me. I've racked my brain for what I might have done, but I've come up empty. My mom claims it's just his personality. He doesn't like me but has no specific grievance. I find that hard to believe. There should be a reason for such behavior, especially toward a teenager. Maybe it's because I'm my mom's first child, but I'm clueless. Early on, he'd ask about my life, but then he just shut me out. I asked my mom if I'd upset him, but she brushed it off, saying he was adjusting to my presence. She mentioned he'd only dated women without kids, but That seemed odd since he has two sons, aged 12 and 15, from a previous marriage. Their mother passed away in an accident after the younger was born. When Eddie and my mom married after a year of dating, he moved into our house with his kids. His mother, who'd lived with him due to illness, went to stay with his sister. Eddie instructed his sons not to speak to me, making life in the house isolating. It felt like I was a pariah, and I couldn't figure out why. Living with people who pretend you're invisible is tough. I adapted, but it was depressing. My mom was the only one who'd talk to me, but she refused to address Eddie's behavior, claiming he had personal reasons she couldn't share. When I pushed, she'd guilt-trip me, citing her sacrifices and saying I should tolerate Eddie for her sake. I avoided telling my dad, knowing he'd confront my mom and possibly escalate things to a custody battle. My parents often clashed over parenting differences, and I didn't want to spark a bigger conflict. For 3 years, I endured Eddie and his kids ignoring me, preparing myself mentally to interact only with my mom during visits. 2 weeks ago, something pushed me over the edge. I was supposed to spend the month at my mom's. Eddie and his kids ignored me as usual, and I was already struggling after arguments with school friends. One morning, I woke up to an empty house. The previous night had seemed normal. Well, as normal as it gets with everyone ignoring me. No one mentioned a trip. Panicked, I called my mom. She answered, saying she, Eddie, and his kids were on a week-long vacation and expected me to stay home and watch the house. I'm on summer break, so I had no school obligations, but I was furious they'd left without telling me. I told her I wasn't okay with being left alone to guard the house like a security system. They should have informed me so I could decide for myself. As a high school guy, an empty house might sound fun, but their disregard made me feel worthless. I demanded an apology for their lack of communication. My mom dismissed me, saying I was overreacting, and hung up. When I called back, she texted that she was enjoying her trip and would talk later. Furious, I decided to leave. I tried calling her again to say I was going to my dad's, but she didn't answer. I locked the house, left the keys under a plant, and went to my dad's. He was surprised to see me early, as I was supposed to be with my mom. I finally told him everything: Eddie's coldness, his kids' silence, my mom's refusal to intervene, and how she left me alone without warning. I explained how her guilt-tripping about her sacrifices made me feel obligated to endure it. The final straw was her expecting me to stay home alone without even a heads up. I broke down, realizing how much this had weighed on me. My relationship with my mom had been good before Eddie, but now I felt insignificant. My dad, though visibly upset, stayed calm and promised to handle it. He said I could live with him permanently and visit my mom only if I chose to. I haven't contacted her since, and surprisingly, she didn't reach out either. 5 days later, she called, screaming that the house had been burglarized, TV and valuables gone, and blamed me. I reminded her I'd tried to inform her I was leaving, but she ignored my calls. She argued I should have texted, and while that's fair, I was too upset to think clearly. She insisted I was responsible for staying, but I never agreed to that. The argument escalated, with Eddie accusing me of ruining their family, which made no sense given we barely interacted. My dad believes my mom is at fault, and they're now arguing. She demands he cover the damages since he's defending me and insists I apologize to her and Eddie's family. I don't want to, but I also don't want her harassing my dad. Am I wrong for leaving her house to stay with my dad after they left me alone without notice? Update 1. 2 weeks later, a lot has come to light. I finally learned why Eddie disliked me. Early in their relationship, he wanted his sick mother to live with them. My mom wasn't ready for that commitment and refused, especially since his mother needed care. Instead of being honest, she blamed me, telling Eddie I'd be a problem. She lied, saying I'd scared off her past boyfriends to protect her, hoping my parents would reunite. She claimed I called his mother a burden and his kids troublemakers, things I'd never say. Eddie believed her, which explains his hostility. He even pushed my mom to disown me. When she refused, she admitted the truth. Eddie was shocked, realizing he'd misjudged me for years. He apologized via email, saying he'd have made other arrangements for his mother if my mom had been honest. I haven't responded yet, still processing. My mom let this go on, prioritizing her convenience. My dad is now pursuing full custody, and I'm done with her lies. Update 2. Eddie is seeking a divorce, and my dad is pushing for full custody. My mom is begging my dad to fix things with Eddie, claiming she loves us all. After years of letting Eddie mistreat me based on her lies, I can't believe she expects sympathy. I've blocked her and want no contact. She prioritized her happiness over mine, and I'm done. Update 3, Eddie has officially filed for divorce, and it's all anyone in our family or mutual friends talks about. My mom is posting sad messages on social media, which my cousins keep sending me. She's reaping what she sowed, and I feel no pity. Update 4. My dad now has full custody. My mom fought hard, but her lies and the divorce evidence worked against her. Her lawyer dragged it out, but I'm now with my dad permanently. She has visitation rights, but I have no interest in seeing her. I'm happy with my dad, making plans with friends, and ready to move forward.